This is Ryan Michael of quarterbackscore.webs.com talking with former Miami Dolphins and Cincinnati Bengals offensive tackle Richmond Webb. Richmond, during your 13-year NFL career, you blocked for a quarterback who went on to become the most prolific passer in NFL history. You were selected to 7 consecutive Pro Bowls, and you were twice named an AP First Team All-Pro. Looking back now, what do you consider to be the finest achievement of your football career?
Some of the individual accolades, I think playing with, like you said, the most prolific quarterback, also playing for probably 2 Hall of Fame coaches in Coach Shula, and I think eventually Jimmy Johnson will be inducted to the Pro Football Hall of Fame as well. But um, some of the accolades that you just mentioned, those are probably the things that just stick out, coming to mind. That I'd probably have to say the Pro Bowls and making first team All Pro and just being considered one of the best in my position. I would think that that's probably one of the most important accomplishments I made during my career.
Certainly. Now, during your time with the Dolphins, you set a team record by starting 118 consecutive games. Now, given the physical nature of the NFL and the demands placed on you week in and week out, how difficult was it for you to remain so consistent, not just to suit up each and every Sunday, but to show up and play at the high level that you did?
Well, yeah, that's the thing there. I feel very fortunate, very blessed because, one thing I learned in playing in the NFL, a lot of guys is not for long, and sometimes it's just freak incidents or things that just happen. But to be able to play that long, that consecutively, especially playing in the trenches, with the offense, defensive line, that was an accomplishment. How I did it, I think I just took a lot of prayer, and God kind of watched over me. But I'm just one of the more fortunate ones to be able to have that type of longevity for that long.
Mm-hmm.
And set a streak like that, so I was just fortunate.
Now, you were teammates with Dan Marino from your rookie season in 1990 all the way through his final season in 99. After he retired, you spent one last season with the Dolphins in 2000. What was it like to transition from having Dan there in the meetings, in the locker room, in practice, and on game days, to then not having him there at all?
Well, it's a huge loss, and then, like you played with a guy for 10 years, the relationship you develop with him, and I always tell people, I learned a lot from being around guys like Dan Marino or whatever. They were already consummate professionals when I came in the NFL. So me as a young guy coming in, I always wanted to pattern myself after people that were successful year in year out. So you look at some of your teammates that you typically played with, and Dan just stuck out like a sore thumb.
Mm-hmm.
So I just used him to kind of model. I noticed how he practiced. I knew his work ethic. I knew how he played the games, and I also knew how he conducted himself off the football field. The way he interacted with the media, community service. He was a complete professional, and so I just used him as a model to kind of try to pattern myself. And I was never in that high of a demand, but it still doesn't hurt to kind of pattern somebody like that. So it was a huge loss, going from that. But I think as you play, years go in and out, you kind of realize that eventually one day it's going to come to an end. But it was kind of a sad day, but it was huge. It was different when you've been with a guy for all your career, and then he's not there anymore. So that was tough.
Right. Now, at the time of his retirement, Dan Marino had the lowest sack percentage in league history, a mere 3.13%, which is to say that in about 97% of his dropbacks, he wasn't getting sacked. Obviously, his quick release is the stuff of legend, and that played a factor. But you protected his blind side for a decade and helped afford him the protection needed to break all those records that he did. So I ask you this. If starting 118 consecutive games, earning 7 consecutive trips to the Pro Bowl, earning 4 consecutive first or second team All-Pro nods, while helping the most prolific quarterback in NFL history become the least sacked quarterback in NFL history, isn't enough to warrant induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, what more could an offensive tackle do to receive such recognition?
I don't know, and you're not the first guy around to ask that question, and I guess this is the way I kind of look at it. think I got the numbers to get in there. I just think that, what a lot of people don't realize is there's so many guys that hadn't actually made it into the Hall of Fame. So, you kind of go into a pool of guys that are deserving.
Mm-hmm.
And when you only put 5 or 6 guys in at a time a year, some people got to wait a little longer. So I think I got a legitimate shot. I'm just being patient and waiting. But I think I got a legitimate shot to make it. So I just wait and see what happens. But I appreciate that.
No problem. Well, very well deserved. Now, Richmond, it's been 12 years since your retirement from pro football. What are you up to these days, and what can fans do besides follow you on Twitter at Richmond Webb to keep up with your latest endeavors?
Well, currently what I'm doing now is I have a company. It's called Environmental Machines and Services, and we do operations. We have a contract with the city of Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Where we do the operations at the water purification plant, and do that. And we also rebuild what's called belt filter presses, and we go out and do service work. So anything to do with water, wastewater, or water treatment facilities, for like drinking water or wastewater, we're in that field, and you can look us up at environmentalmachines.com. We're in the middle of revamping our website a little bit, but if you just remember, if they can, fans can remember that, they go check it out, and hey, if there's any kind of way, might be able to do some business with some of these fans. So I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to talk about my business and what I'm currently doing now. That's what I'm doing.
My pleasure, Richmond. And again, for my listeners, if you could check out environmentalmachines.com. And if you'd like, you can follow Richmond Webb on Twitter at Richmond Webb. And if you'd like, you can follow me on Twitter at @TheRyanMichael. Rich, I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me tonight.
Hey, Ryan, I appreciate it. I had a great time. I appreciate you inviting me to come on to your show. So I definitely appreciate it.
My pleasure, Rich. All the best.